Welcome to a brand new month, a fresh chapter filled with endless possibilities, growth, and hope. May is a time when nature bursts into life all around us, reminding us that no matter what has passed, new beginnings are always within reach. Whether you're stepping into a new season of your life or simply embracing the beauty of today, this month invites us all to bloom and thrive. Here in Manchester, the city feels alive with possibility. And if you're celebrating a birthday this month, I want to send you a heartfelt wish. May your year ahead be as vibrant and promising as the season itself. Speaking of foundations and the wisdom that builds them, Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1 in the Bible reminds us, homes are made by the wisdom of women, but are destroyed by foolishness. This powerful verse highlights the profound influence and discerning spirit that women bring to the heart of our lives, the home. It underscores the value of wisdom in building and sustaining what truly matters. Welcome to Empowerment Junction Podcast, where real stories ignite strength, resilience, and wisdom to guide you on your life's journey with divine grace. I'm your host, Olivia Bassi, and I'm thrilled you're here today. It's a bright and sunny week in Manchester, England. And if the sun isn't shining where you are, trust that your season of light and growth is just around the corner. Together, we explore inspiring experiences that remind us no matter the challenge, your power, our power to rise and transform is always within reach. Today, we are peeling back the layers of some of the biggest myths and falsehoods that have shaped us since childhood, history, and society. Now I'll ask you this. Have you ever wondered why certain ideas just stick with us, even when they don't make sense? That's the power of familiarity, something psychologists call the mere exposure effect. The more we see or hear something, the more our brains tell us it's safe, good, or true. But what if those familiar ideas are actually holding us back or even leading us astray? And it's not just about facts. Our feelings play a huge role too. Our gut reactions can act like mental shortcuts, making us believe what feels right instead of what is right. Now I've got this fun fact. Did you know that simply washing your hands can make you judge others more harshly? Our physical sensations and emotions are deeply linked to how we see the world and make moral decisions. So today, we are diving deep into how these invisible forces shape our beliefs and how can we start breaking free from the lies we've been told for far too long. If you're ready to challenge, stay tuned. My question is, are you ready to challenge what you think you know? If you are, let's get started. So, if our minds are wired to defend what's familiar and protect our reputations, how do we break free? How do we actually start questioning those deeply held beliefs, especially the ones we've carried since childhood or inherited from society? As part of today, I want us to explore some practical ways to open ourselves up to new perspectives. I want us to look at how honest conversations, curiosity, and even a little discomfort can help us see beyond the stories we've always believed. We'll also hear real-life examples of people I've met who've managed to change their minds and what it looks for them to do it. And what it took for them to do it and how. And it won't always be easy, and sometimes it might even feel a little unsettling. And that's part of growth. Growth is unsettling. But that's where real growth really happens. So as we dive in, I invite you to keep an open mind. Question along with me and maybe even discover something new about yourself. So let's get into it. Let's debunk the first lie. This part is all about a specific and deeply ingrained lie. It's only because I saw this post and I've been speaking to many people, and I speak to many people. Many people used my days in university was a very strong feminist. I think I still am. And many people were very surprised on my choices on getting married and everything. But that's another story. I'm not going to share it here anyway. But I want to talk about this deeply ingrained lie, the idea of male headship, often dressed up as equal but different. On the surface, it sounds reasonable, but in practice, it usually means men make the decisions while women are sidelined to supporting roles. Now, there's nothing equal about it. This system not only devalues women, but creates fertile ground for objectification and even abuse. Let's be clear, because this is what I do know. Some religious practices, I don't want to name names, do believe that male headship is what is required. So anyway, even Christ alone is called the head of the church, never men. Jesus never taught male headship. In fact, if you read the Bible and understand it clearly, he broke social norms by including women as disciples, supporters, and witnesses at every turn. Jesus himself knew the value of women. The early church was filled with women, leaders, prophets, and apostles. Yet these facts are often ignored or explained away because powerful, independent women threaten hierarchical structures. And that's the honest truth. Patriarchal teachings often lean heavily on Paul's writing. If you've read the book of Paul in the Bible, but it's worth noting that Paul's words are complex and sometimes misunderstood. Yes, they sound very nice, but here's the truth. Even then, his letters speak of mutuality and partnership. Mutuality, and partnership, not hierarchy. Husbands and wives having equal authority over each other's bodies and both being essential to the community. Now, this old narrative that women are to be blamed for humanity's fall is a distortion that overlooks Adam's role and has been used to justify submission for generations. But one of my favorite verses, Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1 tells us, "The wise woman builds a house," as I started with this. Wisdom, strength, and leadership are celebrated as essential to the family and the community, regardless of marriage or marital status. And Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22 says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." That itself is powerful. It's empowering to the women out there. Women are not incomplete without marriage. They are already strong, wise, and enough on their own. Marriage is not the ultimate goal or proof of a woman's worth. That's one of the lies I wanted to debunk. Single women are just as capable of embodying the wisdom and strength described in Proverbs. If you aren't whole as a single person, you won't magically become whole in a marriage. No! No. Get out of that nonsense. Women are not missing pieces for men. They are complete, valuable, and powerful in their own right, as it's written very, very clearly. So let's challenge the narrative. Women are not born to be led. They are born to lead, build, and bless. The wisdom, strength, and leadership of women are not just permitted in faith communities. They are essential. This says that and demonstrates we are constantly absorbing lies, not just from religious institutions, but from our upbringing and the wilder culture. Let's go to schools or the education we've received as an example. They say it's supposed to prepare us for the real world. But one of its most lasting lessons is often the fear of failure. Think about it this way. From an early age, from the time you even start nursery, sometimes even in the house, we are taught that mistakes should be avoided, that a wrong answer equates to a lack of intelligence, and that success is measured in our grades and rankings. But for us who live the real life, we know that just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. No. Failure isn't just inevitable. It's essential for learning and growth. Yet we internalize this idea that failure equals incompetence. And if it stops us from taking risks, trying new things, and reaching our full potential, this fear seeps into every aspect of our lives, holding us back from opportunities and keeping us in our comfort zones. But what if we were never supposed to fear failure in the first place? What if from the time you're a child, you're encouraged to make those mistakes so you can learn, so you can become a better version of yourselves? Anyway, sometimes a single image can shatter these ingrained lies and force us to confront uncomfortable truths. Now, there are certain images that are very... Type it on Google as an example. Yes, Google is I don't know what we would do without Google, for those who lived before Google times. Anyway, think about the photographs from the civil rights movements. Charles Moore powerful images from Birmingham, Alabama in 1963. Just type Charles Moore, Birmingham, Alabama, 1963. Now, the image captured the brutal reality of segregation in a way that words alone often couldn't. It ignited outrage and helped fuel the fight for equality. And in the same way, or similarly, the image of Katherine Switzer. If you know Katherine Switzer, the story of her on the Boston Marathon, who bravely decided to run the Boston Marathon in 1967, despite being physically assaulted for it. You should have seen it. I mean, when you see the clip and the photo, challenged the lie that women were too fragile for such feats. Yes, that story was so powerful. And Lewis Hines' photographs of child laborers at the truth or the turn of the 20th century exposed the horrific reality behind the industrial boom, leading to crucial labor laws. Now, these images broke through indifference and forced a reckoning. And that's how changes happened. But it's not just history. Even today, a single story, a viral video, or a courageous act can break the spell of a long-standing lie. When we see someone challenge the status quo, whether it's a young girl coding in a field dominated by men, or a community standing up against injustice, it chips away at the false narratives we've inherited. It reminds us that the boundaries we accept are often just stories we've been told, not unchangeable truths. So as I say this, I'm asking you today, what false narratives are you accepting? And what can you do about it? So anyway, as we go on, are you, and I'll ask you this as I say, are you the Katherine Switzer? Are you a Katherine Switzer? Or are you going to be the Charles Moore who's going to capture a powerful movement? So anyway, What does it take to break free? Sometimes it's a moment of courage. Sometimes it's a new perspective. And sometimes it's simply seeing the truth unfiltered for the very first time. So, I've shared 2 areas that are very, very powerful, very strong in many ways. The position of women. And some of the defining moments that have changed, powerful laws that have reshaped history, that have made sure that we have a right to even speak. We have a right to make many changes, not only in our homes, but in the community and in the society. I share this to remind you of your power. I share this to remind you of your space. I share this to remind you of your story and to remind you that you own your story. You can be the shape and the force for your community. And I share this because liberation is not far away. It's here and it's now and it's within you. So let's carry on. And I firmly believe that women aren't born with an innate desire to be led by men. When I ask one of my young mentees what she wants to do when she grows up, she doesn't say, I just want to submit my life to my husband in humble service as to the Lord. No, she says, I want to be a lawyer. And I mean, good for her. But in some churches, women are taught to be submissive through teachings that require constant justification. And I recall a young lady arguing, I think this was on Facebook. There is a biblical basis for female leadership. Now I have to ask which Bible she's reading, because from beginning to end, the Bible positions women as leaders in groundbreaking ways, directing armies, defeating enemies, saving communities, giving birth to God, funding Jesus' ministry, sitting at his feet as his disciples, and being the first witnesses and preachers of the resurrections. They were church founders, leaders, prophets, and apostles. Surely if male headship were fundamental, Jesus would have mentioned it. He never did. Instead, he included women in his inner circle, which was a radical act for his time. Now, the early church was full of powerful leaders. These facts are often ignored or exploited away because independent, free-thinking women can be perceived as a threat to the hierarchical structures. Now, I don't want to go on too much about the female leadership, because that is really part of what motivated me to start this episode about debunking the lies. Because I want to say we lie quickly and convincingly, sometimes even to ourselves. Our brains are constantly scanning for threats or rewards, shaping our behavior to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And really, it's what we've been conditioned with since childhood. Most of our reactions are fleeting, split-second flashes of positive or negative feelings that happen before we even realize it. Now, these rapid subconscious judgments can have a huge impact on our beliefs and how we see ourselves and others. Now, I want to share my own personal story that very strongly brings these ideas to life. And it's really for you to think about the perceptions, what you think to be true of yourself and of other people and of the society and of the people you see around you. Now, my story goes this way. I came to the UK in January 2000, just after finishing secondary school in Kenya. My mom was working in Liverpool, so my stepbrother and I joined her, and my stepdad in Bootle, Liverpool. I'll never forget that first winter. The cold was shocking and the loneliness was even harder. I mean, this in Kenya, because skin color, we were all black, or there was racism was a very, it just never existed. Yes, there was colorism and all the other things, but racism was never there. So it was a new experience for me. Everything felt unfamiliar. But my mom had a vision. She truly believed in the opportunities the UK could offer, especially for me as a young girl. She enrolled both my brother and me at Hubert College, determined to help us reach our goal of going to university. Now, when we arrived at the college, we were among the first Africans they'd seen apply. They didn't understand our grades, so they assumed because we were from Kenya that we'd need to complete 2 years of access courses and pass extra English exams. We didn't question it. After all, we'd been taught that the British system was superior and that our education might not measure up. I was the only black girl in my class. No one spoke to me. I often felt invisible, but I kept my head down and worked hard, determined to prove myself. Then, just a few months in, we had our first exams. One day, my English literature teacher came into class, quieted everyone and asked, "Has anyone ever spoke to this girl?" The room went silent. Then she announced, "This girl, who none of you have bothered to speak to because you assume she couldn't speak English or didn't understand the material, has scored the highest marks we've ever given in this class and this college." Everything changed after that. Suddenly, everyone wanted to talk to me, to learn from me. And by the end of the year, I'd scored top marks in all my exams and I was accepted to study communication and law at Liverpool University, all within the first few months, really, because I started in January, and by September, I was in university. Now, that experience taught me something powerful. We are often misjudged by others and by ourselves, really, based on old assumptions and biases. Now, the lies we are told about our worth or our abilities are often rooted in someone else's misconceptions, not reality. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today, to remind you that you are more than the assumptions that others make about you. You are more than the outdated beliefs or societal expectations that try to define you. Your potential is vast and it cannot be contained by anyone else's false narrative. So as you go about your journey, I want to encourage you to challenge those lies that hold you back, whether they come from outside or from within. Know your worth, understand your power, and most importantly, keep pushing forward despite the noise. You are capable of so much more than you've been told. Your story isn't finished yet. In fact, it's just beginning. Think about it. We're incredibly skilled at spotting the flaws in someone else's reasoning. And thankfully, others do the same for us. But here's the key that unlocks everything. We only truly listen when we care about the person speaking. When there's affection, admiration, or even just a desire to please someone, we suddenly become open to their perspective. It's not logic that changes minds, it's connection. Now let me throw a thought experiment your way. Imagine on the day you were born, a coin was flipped. Heads, you live your entire life as a genuinely honest, fair person, but everyone will believe you're a complete scoundrel. Tails, you be a liar and a cheat whenever it benefits you, but everyone will see you as the most virtuous person alive. Now here's the question. Which one would you choose? And this is the uncomfortable truth, or it's such an uncomfortable question, am I right? It reveals something profound about human nature. Many of us, in fact, just about every majority of us care about our reputation than our reality. We want to be seen as good, sometimes even more than we want to be good. And when I'm saying this from a place of grace. Ask yourself this: the number of times you do something, or maybe you're volunteering, or maybe you've donated some money. The number of times where you think, I'm going to tell people I'll do this, or think about it that way. And this is not to judge anybody, because this is not even my call. This is just to help you make or answer those difficult questions. Now, this leads us to a pretty unsettling realization about human reasoning. Right? Maybe, just maybe, our ability to reason didn't evolve primarily to discover truth. Maybe it evolved to help us justify ourselves, to protect our reputations, win arguments, and convince others to side with us. Just maybe. Just go with that thought. Now, when we know we'll have to explain our thinking to others, we actually become better thinkers. We are more systematic, more self-critical, less likely to jump to conclusions. Accountability can be powerful, very powerful, especially when we're accountable to well-informed people whose opinions we can't predict. That's when we start genuinely exploring ideas rather than just defending our position. But here's the trap. More often, knowing we'll be judged just makes us double down. We search for even more ways to appear right rather than questioning if we actually are right. Now we build stronger cases for what we already believe instead of opening ourselves to new possibilities. Now, there's one of the first myths I wanted to debunk, because I've done a lot of research about this and I've been reading wide about this area. The persistent myth in American politics that voter fraud is widespread, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Or how in Kenya, tribal afflictions can lead people to defund corrupt politicians simply because they are one of us. Tribalism, in fact, is very big in Kenya. Our reasoning becomes a lawyer defending our team, not a scientist searching for truth. And that's why they say the truth will set you free. It's liberating in many ways, many ways. So today, as we're diving deep into these invisible forces that shape our beliefs, I want us to think about how we can start breaking free from the lies we've been told far too long. But first, I want us to explore exactly what these forces look like in our everyday lives and why they are so powerful. From childhood lessons to cultural narratives, from gut feelings to social pressures. These influences quietly steer our thinking more than we realize. Understanding them is the first step toward reclaiming control over our minds. And I'll say, today, as I was doing my research, I saw this quote which was very profound and I wanted to share it. And this is what it reads. I think it was by Jason Christoph. And he says, the idea that our society is best served when all family members separate in the morning to do things that they generally don't enjoy could be the biggest fallacy ever imprinted upon humanity. And I won't comment, I will leave you with that as we go to our next segment. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Empowerment Junction. If this episode inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. It could make all the difference in their journey. And as always, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Empowerment Junction Podcast for more empowering content and updates. And if you're ready to challenge those limiting beliefs and create a life on your terms, feel free to reach out on some coaching sessions. Let's take this journey together. Until next time, remember, you are the author of your story. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their power. And before I sign off, I want to leave you with this. You have a voice. You have a story. Don't let the lies of others become the limits you place on yourself. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and stay empowered. Bye for now.